So here's Article 10, Subdivision Procedures for Costilla County, Colorado. If you were like, what the hell is the planning and zoning laws for Costilla County, Colorado? This video is for you.
Single-family dwelling unit is proposed on 1 Costilla County Land Use Code, page 65. Article 10 Subdivision Procedures, Section 10.10 Minor subdivisions. The zoning administrator shall determine if a proposed subdivision is permitted to use the minor subdivision review process, based on the following criteria. A. No more than 4 single-family dwelling units or lots are proposed. B. A second single-family dwelling unit is proposed on 1 parcel. C. A subdivision of an agricultural property to serve as a family member homestead is proposed. D. Vacation of a previously recorded subdivision is proposed. Section 10.15 Minor Subdivision Review Process. The following review process shall apply to minor subdivision applications. A. Application and submittal requirements. The application and submittal requirements for a minor subdivision shall be identified on a checklist provided by the zoning administrator at the pre-application meeting. B. Review of final plat by zoning administrator. The zoning administrator shall review the final plat. If it substantially complies with the requirements of these regulations, the administrator shall schedule the final plat for review and approval by the Board of County Commissioners at a public hearing. See Public Notice of Hearing. Public notice that the Board of County Commissioners will conduct a public hearing to consider the application shall be made pursuant to Article 6, Section 6.40F of this code. D. Public hearing and action on final plat by Board of County Commissioners. The final plat shall be considered by the Board of County Commissioners at a public hearing, after proper notice, in accordance with the provisions of Article 6, Section 6.40F. The Board of County Commissioners shall approve with conditions, or deny the final plat. Section 10.20 Major subdivisions. Sketch plans. A sketch plan is the first step in the approval process for a major subdivision. The sketch plan process reviews, at a conceptual level, the feasibility and design characteristics of the proposed subdivision based on the standards set forth in this code. A. Application and submittal requirements. The application and submittal requirements for a sketch plan shall be identified on a checklist provided by the Land Use Administrator at the pre-application meeting. B. Sketch plan review process. A sketch plan application and review shall follow the procedures set forth under Special Review in Article 6 of this code. C. Expiration of sketch plan approval. If the applicant fails to proceed with the submittal of a preliminary plan for all or a part of the land for which sketch plan approval has been granted within 12 months of the approval date, the sketch plan approval shall expire. The Board of County Commissioners may extend the time period for submitting the preliminary plan application for good cause and upon a finding by the Board of no substantial change in the circumstances of the sketch plan approval. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 66. Section 10.30 Major subdivisions. Preliminary plan. The preliminary plan is the second step in the approval process for a major subdivision. The preliminary plan is a working document used for detailed, but not final, design and review of a proposed subdivision, based on an approved sketch plan. A. Application and submittal requirements. Preliminary plan. The application and submittal requirements for a preliminary plan shall be identified on a checklist provided by the Land Use Administrator at the pre-application meeting. B. Preliminary plan review process. A preliminary plan application and review shall follow the procedures set forth under Special Review in Article 6 of this code. C. Development agreement. If a development agreement is to be a part of the subdivision review and approval, then a draft of the proposed development agreement shall be submitted for review along with the preliminary plan. D. Expiration of preliminary plan approval. Unless another time frame has been agreed to in a development agreement, the preliminary plan approval shall expire within 12 months of date of approval. The Board of County Commissioners may extend the time period for submitting the preliminary plan application for good cause and upon a finding by the Board of no substantial change in the circumstances of the preliminary plan approval. Section 10.40 Major Subdivisions, Final Plat. The final plat is the third and final step in the major subdivision process. Upon completion of the requirements of this section, the final plat document is recorded, and the land shown on the final plat is thereby divided into lots, blocks, tracts, easements, streets, and rights-of-way. Application and submittal requirements. The application and submittal requirements for a major subdivision shall be identified on a checklist provided by the Land Use Administrator at the pre-application meeting. Major subdivision review process. A major subdivision application and review shall follow the procedures set forth under Special Review in Article 6 of this Code. See documents required to be approved with final plat. No final plat shall be deemed to be finally approved unless and until the Board of County Commissioners also has approved the following documents that accompany the final plat. 1. Final engineering plans. Final engineering documents for roadway, drainage, erosion, and sedimentation control plans along with a grading plan and a revegetation plan shall be submitted and approved as a part of the final plat approval. The grading plan shall be indicated by solid line contours superimposed on dashed line contours of the existing topography of the area to be platted. Certification of approval by the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners is required. 2. Subdivision Improvement Agreement. A subdivision improvement agreement in a form approved by the Land Use Administrator and Land Use Council. 3. Permits and approvals. A copy of any state, local or federal permits and approvals, including but not limited to permits issued under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act, state, local or federal highway access permits, and air quality permits. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 67. 4. Drawings. Plan, profile, and typical cross-sectional drawings of all roads, bridges, culverts and other drainage structures, noting to what depths underground utility lines will be buried beneath such features. 5. Additional plat notes. Other plat notes and submittal items as the Planning Commission or the Board of County Commissioners may reasonably request to review and act upon the final plat. 6. Water report. Evidence of sufficient quantity, quality, and dependability as determined by review by State Engineer's Office. 7. Financial guarantees. Financial guarantees for the improvements specified in the Subdivision Improvements Agreement shall be submitted and approved in final form prior to recording of the final plat. Financial guarantees shall be made in accordance with Article 13 of this Code. D. Recording. The approved final plat shall be recorded in the office of the Costilla County Clerk. Section 10.50 Minor Administrative Procedures, Reserved. Section 10.60 Vacation of roadways, rights-of-way, and easements. The vacation process is used to legally void the county's interest in previously dedicated rights-of-way, easements, and streets when they are determined by the Board of County Commissioners to no longer be needed for public purpose. Application and review process. The application and submittal process for a vacation shall follow the same procedures as a minor subdivision. Submittal requirements shall be identified on a checklist provided by the zoning administrator at the pre-application meeting. Approval from users of roadway, right-of-way, and easement required. Documentation that the utilities or other persons that may use the roadway, right-of-way, or easement have no objection to the vacation shall accompany the application. See approval standards. To approve a roadway, right-of-way, or easement vacation, the Board of County Commissioners must find the following conditions exist.
What
1.
conditions?
The roadway, right-of-way, or easement proposed to be vacated is not located within the limits of any city or town.
All right.
2. If the roadway, right-of-way, or easement proposed to be vacated constitutes the boundary line between Costilla County and an adjacent county
Costilla
or city
County.
or town, the adjacent entity has vacated or will vacate the roadway, right-of-way, or easement in a joint action with the county. 3. The proposed vacation will not leave any adjoining land without an established public road or private access easement connecting the land with another established public road. 4. The vacation of a roadway established as a county road at any time requires that a resolution be approved by the board at a public meeting for which proper notice has been completed as set forth in Article 6 Section 6.40F. 5. The vacation of a roadway that has been established as a state highway requires a resolution approved by the Transportation Commission, pursuant to CRS 43-1-106, 11. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 68. 6. The proposed vacation will not result in any significant negative impacts on utility and drainage services, transportation facilities, surrounding properties, or the natural environment. 7. The proposed vacation will not adversely affect property values in the surrounding area. 8. The proposed vacation is compatible with existing and proposed development in the surrounding area, and does not conflict with the comprehensive plan. 9. The roadway, right-of-way, or easement proposed to be vacated is no longer needed for the purpose for which it was dedicated, and the proposed vacation would be in the best interest of the residents of Costilla County. D. Plat required for re-subdivision. If the roadway, right-of-way, or easement to be vacated is within the boundaries of a subdivision, the applicant must submit a re-subdivision plat, eliminating the vacated roadway, right-of-way or easement and showing the lot configurations that will change as a result of the vacation. The re-subdivision plat shall be prepared by a surveyor or engineer, in a clear and legible manner acceptable to the land use administrator at a scale of 1 inch to 100, 100, or 200 feet. E. Recordation and vesting of title. Upon vacation of a roadway or right-of-way associated with the roadway, title to the lands included within such roadway or associated right-of-way, or so much thereof as may be vacated, shall vest subject to the same encumbrances, liens, limitations, and restrictions as the land to which it accrues, as follows. 1. In the event that a roadway which constitutes the exterior boundary of a subdivision or other tract of land is vacated, title to said roadway shall vest in the owners of the land abutting the vacated roadway to the same extent that the land included within the roadway, at the time the roadway was acquired for public use, was a part of the subdivided land or was a part of the adjacent land. 2. In the event that less than the entire width of a roadway or easement is vacated, title to the vacated portion shall vest in the owners of the land abutting such vacated portion. 3. In the event that a roadway bounded by straight lines is vacated, title to the vacated roadway or associated right-of-way shall vest in the owners of the abutting land, each abutting owner taking to the center of the roadway, except as provided in paragraphs 1 and 2 above. In the event that the boundary lines of abutting lands do not intersect said roadway at a right angle, the land included within such roadway shall vest as provided in paragraph 4 below. 4. In all instances not specifically provided for, title to the vacated roadway shall vest in the owners of the abutting land, each abutting owner taking that portion of the vacated roadway to which his land, or any part thereof, is nearest in proximity. 5. No portion of a roadway upon vacation shall accrue to an abutting roadway. F. Recording required. Within 30 days following approval of a vacation, the resolution, and maps or amended plats documenting the vacation shall be recorded in the office of the Costilla County Clerk and Recorder. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 69. Article 11. Subdivision exemptions, cluster subdivisions, and large lot land divisions. Section 11.10. Divisions of land exempt from subdivision. Unless the method of disposition is adopted for the purpose of evading this section and these land use regulations, the following divisions of land are exempt from procedures and standards of the subdivision regulations. A. Types of exemptions. 1. Boundary line adjustment and lot line revision, correction. A division of land for the purpose of revising boundary lines and lot lines from those shown on a recorded plat and which creates no more than the previously recorded number of parcels, provided that, I, any lot or parcel which is now conforming shall remain so. 2. Any lot or parcel that is non-conforming shall not increase its degree of non-conformance, and 3. The plat amendment process and other appropriate provisions of this code are satisfied. B. Division of land for the purpose of correcting an engineering or survey error in a recorded plat, provided that the correction, S, meet the applicable provisions of this code. 2. Consolidation. A. Any division of land combining contiguous parcels of land into one larger parcel. If the resulting parcel is less than 35 acres in land area, only one interest in said land shall be allowed. If the resulting parcel is greater than 35 acres in land area, such land area, divided by the number of interests in the resulting parcel, must result in 35 or more acres per interest. Easements and rights of way shall not be considered interests for the purposes of this section. 3. Family transaction exemption. A. Any division of land which is created by and for the purpose of a gift, transfer or sale by a parent to his or her offspring, whether related by blood, marriage, or legal adoption, or by such offspring to a parent or grandparent or by a legally appointed guardian to a person under that guardian's care, so long as the parcel created fully conforms to the zoning and other provisions contained within these regulations. Such a gift, sale, or transfer shall be specifically prohibited from creating non-conforming lots. Section 11.11 Submittal requirements established. The submittal requirements for a subdivision exemption shall be identified on a checklist provided by the zoning administrator at the pre-application meeting. Section 11.12 Review process. A review of exempt subdivision by land use administrator, and plat recordation. The administrator shall review the proposed exempt subdivision for compliance with the criteria for approval of requests for subdivision exemption, Section 11.13. If the proposed division qualifies as an exemption, then the exemption map shall be filed with the Costilla County Clerk and Recorder. Notice shall be provided to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 6.40 F1. B of this code. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 70. B. Appeal to the Board of County Commissioners of Land Use Administrator's decision. Any person aggrieved by the decision of the Land Use Administrator on a request for subdivision exemption may appeal the Administrator's decision to the Board of County Commissioners according to Section 6.40H. 1. A written notice of appeal setting forth the reasons why the Board of County Commissioners should revise or reverse the decision of the Administrator must be submitted to the Administrator within 14 days of the decision by the Administrator on the request for subdivision exemption. 2. The Land Use Administrator shall schedule a hearing by the Board of County Commissioners within 45 days of receipt of the notice of appeal. 3. Public notice of the hearing shall be made by publication and notice to adjacent property owners in accordance with the procedures set forth in Section 3.230, except that it is not necessary to post a notice of the hearing on the property, and written notice to adjacent property owners shall be mailed at least 20 days prior to the hearing, and public notice shall be the responsibility of the county. 4. Following a properly noticed public hearing, the Board of County Commissioners shall uphold the decision of the Administrator, reverse the decision of the Administrator, or revise the decision of Administrator. Section 11.13 Approval Criteria. Criteria for approval of requests for subdivision exemption. A subdivision exemption shall meet the following criteria in order to be approved. A. Adequate access, adequate potable water, and adequate sewage treatment facilities shall be available. B. The proposed parcel boundaries and development shall be suitably located and sized with respect to the physical characteristics of the land, the character of the neighborhood, and the county's goals of preserving agricultural and forestry lands. C. Proposed building lots and structures shall be suitably sized and located with respect to the character of the neighborhood and shall be appropriately landscaped and screened to minimize the obtrusiveness of structures, and to maximize visual blending with the surrounding topography. D. The design of proposed building lots and the location, size, height, and design of proposed structures shall minimize adverse impacts on streams, areas subject to flooding, drainage, geologic hazards, lakes, high groundwater areas, topography, scenic views, vegetative cover, climatology, and other environmental features. E. Review criteria found in Article 5 Section 5.40A shall be met. Section 11.20 Cluster Subdivisions. The Rural Land Use Process/Cluster Subdivision Development Process is authorized by 3028-101, 1, C, X, CRS, and 3028-401, CRS-ET Sec. A development approved pursuant to this section is eligible for the cluster well exemption set forth in 3028-404, CRS. Section 11.21 Eligible parcels. The rural land use process may be used to create a cluster subdivision development on a parcel of land 70 acres or more in any unincorporated area of the county. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 71. Section 11.22 Exempt from subdivision regulations. A cluster development shall be exempt from the standard subdivision and permit procedures set forth in the Land Use Code and shall be governed by this rural land use process. Section 11.23 Standards for cluster development. A cluster development must have all the following characteristics to be reviewed under this rural land use process. A. Use. The subdivision must be for single-family residential purposes only. B. Open space. At least 2/3 of the total area of the parcel to be divided into a cluster subdivision development must be preserved as contiguous open space. C. Density. The residential density of the cluster subdivision development shall not exceed 2 residential units for every 35 acres within the parcel, and shall not exceed 1 residential unit for each 17 1/2 acre increment. D. Ratio of wells to lots. Where well water is used, the annual withdrawal rate shall not exceed the rate of 1 acre-foot for each 35 acres within the cluster development unless a water augmentation plan is approved. 1 well shall be allowed per residential lot in accordance with Section 3028-404, CRS. Section 11.24 Application, Submittal, and Review Process for Cluster Subdivisions. A. Application and submittal requirements. The application and submittal requirements for a cluster development shall be identified on a checklist provided by the zoning administrator at the pre-application meeting. B. Major subdivision review process. A cluster development application and review shall follow the procedures set forth under special review in Article 6 of this code. Section 11.25 Cluster Development Review Criteria. The following review criteria shall apply to all proposed cluster development applications. A. Proposed division and development of the land minimizes the impacts of residential development on agricultural lands and agricultural operations, and maintains the rural character of lands. B. Proposed division and development of the land maintains the opportunity for agricultural production on the most productive and viable parcels of land. C. Buildable lots shall be clustered. D. Proposed division and development of the land minimizes negative visual impact as viewed from public rights of way including roads, and public open spaces. E. Topsoil shall be replaced and the landscape revegetated with native plant materials of adequate quantity and quality within 1 growing season after disturbance of the area. Costilla County Land Use Code, page 72. F. The proposed division and development of the land provides adequate buffers between water bodies and development to protect water quality, enhance wildlife habitat and improve visual quality of rivers, lakes, wetlands, and irrigation ditches and avoid sedimentation and runoff impacts during and after development including those impacts that affect irrigation ditches. G. Lots and building sites shall be designed to minimize impacts on public roads and services. H. Roads, water, and wastewater services shall be adequate to serve the proposed cluster development. Where well water is used, the annual withdrawal rate shall not exceed the rate of 1 acre-foot for each 35 acres within the cluster development unless a water augmentation plan is approved. 1 well shall be allowed per residential lot in accordance with Section 3028-404, CRS. I. Proposed division and development of the land shall avoid negative impacts to wildlife and wildlife habitat. J. Proposed division and development of the land locates all development outside known and/or active hazard areas. These include ground subsidence, potential rockfall, fault or fault zone, unstable slopes, slope failure complex, landslide, mudflow, floodplain, and earth flow areas. K. Proposed division and development of the land minimizes the risk of wildfires. L. 2/3 of the parcel shall be preserved as contiguous open space to be used as wildlife habitat, grazing land, critical natural areas or similar uses. M. The proposed division of land is for single-family dwelling use only, and the residential density does not exceed 2 residential units for every 35 acres or 1 residential unit for each 17½ acre increment. Section 11.26 Recordation. Within 30 days following approval of the cluster development subdivision by the Board of County Commissioners, the map of the cluster development subdivision and the development agreement, if any, shall be recorded in the office of the Costilla County Clerk and Recorder. Section 11.30 Large Lot Land Divisions. A large lot land division is a process by which one or more parcels of land are created whereby each parcel of land so created is a minimum of 35 acres in size. A zone change required. A zone change application and review is required prior to approval by the county of large lot land divisions for changes of use to residential use. B. Recording of plat required. All divisions of land which create parcels of land each of which comprise 35 acres or more shall be accompanied by a recording of a plan or plat with the Costilla County Clerk and Recorder. See plat information. Large lot division plats shall contain the following information. 1. Plan. A plan, drawn in ink, prepared by a registered professional land surveyor indicating the bearings, distances, and curve data of all perimeter boundary lines and legal descriptions and dimensions of all parcels of land that have been so divided. Costilla County Land Use Code page 73. 2. Access drive easement. For all such parcels not adjoining a county-maintained public street or road, an access drive easement not less than 30 feet in width shall be designated as such and bearings and dimensions given between the parcel and a public road or street. 3. Identification. The information on the plan shall include the name of the tract if applicable, the current date, the township, range, and section in which it is located, the name and mailing address of the seller, and the buyer shall endorse the plan, warranty deed, or the recorded deed with the following statement. A. The buyer hereby acknowledges that the Board of County Commissioners of Costilla County, Colorado is not responsible in any fashion for the construction, acceptance, or maintenance of access drives or roads or streets indicated on this plan. Public service vehicles, emergency vehicles, and other vehicles and persons within them having legitimate business to transact shall have the right of ingress, egress and regress along all such drives, roads and streets. The buyer also acknowledges that the right of such access on roads and streets not constructed for or by, nor dedicated to or accepted by and not maintained by Costilla County does not assure prompt, timely arrival of public safety vehicles or the prompt, timely delivery of public safety services. Signed, date, buyer. Costilla County Land Use Code page 74. Article 12 Subdivision Design Standards and Specifications. The following design standards and specifications shall apply to all subdivisions in the county except as otherwise provided for within the provisions of this code. Section 12.10 General Review Criteria. In addition to the design standards and specifications listed herein, all proposed subdivisions shall satisfy the following general standards. A. Conformance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed subdivision shall be consistent with the Costilla County Comprehensive Plan. B. Compatible with neighboring uses. The proposed subdivision shall be found to be consistent with and in harmony with neighboring land uses and future intended land uses in the area. C. Mitigate traffic congestion and hazards. The proposed subdivision will not result in unmitigated traffic congestion or hazards to vehicular or pedestrian traffic at full build-out. D. Avoid negative impacts. The proposed subdivision shall be designed to avoid or mitigate negative impacts upon agricultural lands, critical wildlife habitat and wildlife, scenic views, and existing cultural and historical resources. as required by 1041 regulations and Watershed Protection Overlay Zone District. E. Preserve the environment and promote public health, safety, and welfare. Subdivisions shall be located and laid out so as to protect the public health, safety, welfare, and convenience of the residents of the proposed